Morning, comrades. Hope everyone's doing great. We're here to talk about Atelier Judie. It is the first of the Gramnad duology, which is the second series after the Salberg trilogy slash like 14 games. It's interesting because it kind of sits in that same world, so that was kind of confusing because you can literally recruit Helmina, and literally the Helmina who is friends with frenemies with Ingrid. And so this game sort of takes place, and it's when she's like a young woman. So this game kind of takes place midway between Atelier Lily and Atelier Maria. Or Mary. Yeah, Maria. Is it Mary or Maria? Well, kind of the same thing. So Maria. I think it's supposed to be Mary in Japanese. Anyway, because Helmina's like a young, she's like in Atelier Lily, she's like a student, right? So she's presumably like a teenager, like a young woman. In Atelier Judie, she is like an adult. And then in Atelier Marie, well, she's not in Marie, but in Ellie, she is like an older woman, and she's part of like the head of like the teachers of the organization, right? It's kind of interesting. Like Lily is like the main character of the third game, but she virtually doesn't exist like anywhere else that I've ever seen. And then so that's where this game kind of sits, and it sits there in like a weird space because Judie is actually in like, I want to say she exists in the same world, but like 200 years in the future, and that's how the game actually begins. Okay, we'll get to the story in a second. So one thing to note is that I completely failed at this game. And I say that because this game doesn't have a fan translation, there's no translation, and so I'm using like an OCR to like overlook it. And I've been able to get through like a lot of games doing that, being able to kind of like just power through, like figuring out stuff and kind of like the broken Japanese to English translation, kind of being able to like kind of work in my head, like to understand, like, I think they want me to go over here, or in some of the more newer games, like for the Shining series, for example, I was able to kind of, the game had enough like modernisms, right? Where it's like, okay, I think I need to go over there. That's what the game's telling me. And so I could kind of like sort of figure out what people were talking about to a point where I could like understand the gist of the story. With this game, much like the Salberg games, the story is very rudimentary in like the overarching scheme. And then you get a lot of bang for your buck with the character stories, and the character stories were extremely hard to follow in this for some reason. Like, I don't know, I think they were just more complicated and more thought out, and so there was a lot of it wasn't as easy to follow with like the broken Japanese. And then it would be like a long period of time between picking up story beats for characters, and I would have to like remember like the very little I understood about what was going on in their lives. And then it just didn't carry forward. And there's a lot of characters. I ended up mostly using like the two most quote-unquote powerful fighters that I could find. There was this hot chick, and of course, like, Judie is hot as shit, right? And we get some shots of her without her jacket, being sexy and shit and everything. And then she has like a cadre of like other sexy girls that she can recruit, including Helmina. And then there's some like brawny, stupid dudes. There's one guy, he's like a beefy boy. There's a ghost lady. There is just like Dumb Knight who falls over himself. I'm trying to think what else I got. There's Thief Girl who's cute. And then you can only bring two other people with you, which is pretty standard at this point. That might change in the future when we get there. Again, I've never played any of these games, so I don't know what like the future holds. Outside of that, there seems to be a bit more of like, so the way the game sets up, you're in a town, and many towns you can go to like a quote-unquote dungeon, but the dungeon is just like a field, and it's you go there to gather, but then you fight things as well, and they're limited and small. And then there's like the actual dungeons, and the dungeons have like hit points. And so while you're in there, every time you get hit by something, it damages the dungeon, and then when the dungeon is like completely done, it like earthquakes, and you have to like nope out of there. And so you got to like take care of everything you need to take care of in that amount of time. I only found one dungeon. Apparently there's 4 that relate to like the overarching like point of the game. This is the first one without like any time limit whatsoever. So you just have like all fucking day forever. So you can just like fiddle dick around. This also introduces a mechanic that I didn't remember seeing in any of the Solberg games. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, where things will like expire. So you could have stuff that's just like sitting around in your box or your inventory, and then you get like back to it after like so many days or weeks. And you made like ice cream, and then it's just like junk at that point, like the junk material. Your carrying capacity is very limited, which is not the worst thing. But in this game, you can only have. I was only able to get far enough to have like one location. So I unlocked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 towns, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 5. That town, that town, that town, that town, that town. Yeah, 5 towns and 1 dungeon. So and there's 5 towns, and you can only have the Atelier set up in 1 town at a time. So he starts off in the first town, the Vitae or whatever. It's called Vito Life. And then I was able to move it to like the bigger city, which is like Meesburg or something. And then there's Lisa, and then you can go up to I never caught the name of this because I wasn't paying that much attention at that point. There's like Mining Town, and then there's like other Mining Town. And I get confused about that because one town it like clearly looks like it's like in the mountains, and it's like there's a guy who has like a refrigeration system and he'll store stuff for you long term. And then there's a town where you can actually go into like the mines and gather materials. But in the other mining town, you can buy most of like the regular level stones and stuff you would get from like mining. So it was kind of confusing. And when you travel from town to town, you got to go through like a bunch of steps, and there's like cards, and you can shuffle the cards. And I think you can create cards and insert them into your deck. And then certain rumors will like increase levels. I can never get to like a point. Like you can make blank cards. And so I was like, I assume at some point you can like craft specific cards and they go in your deck to make like life easier. Because the worst part about like I like this game for the most part. The worst part, and I eventually just had to find like a cheat to turn it off, was that when you're traveling from town to town, it would be like battle, 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 town. And it was just the whole game like, it was like, I'm trying to move to a new place, or like I'm just trying to take shit back to the Atelier to like put it in the box because I don't have any space anymore. And I would have to fight like 10 battles to move back and forth because like 5 battles down, 5 battles up. And these aren't like hard battles. You're getting no experience points. They were just like a waste of time at some point. Like at the beginning, it was like, oh, okay, cool, I'm getting experience, or like it's kind of slowing you down, or like I'm just not strong enough to even go to this area. But at some point, it was just like, I would roll these things, but you got to like wait for the battle to go, wait for everyone to load up, wait for like all the commands to be given, wait for them to take their turn, and then it's like, okay, and then it's next, battle again. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So I found a cheat on the PSP version, which is the one I was playing, that just like turned off all the fucking random battles. And I was like, at least on the traveling, right? Like when I was in the gathering zones of the dungeon, I would still have random battles, which is fine. But it was just like, holy shit, man. Like it would be like every step, and it would be like 10 steps on some of these to get between town to town. And it's just the whole game grinds to a stop. And it's like, I'm not getting anything out of this. Like at some point it's like, I'm playing an RPG here, and you want to grind for levels, but it'd be like, I would do that whole thing, and I'd get like 100 experience points for that whole trip, and I need like 5,000 experience points to gain a level, and it's like, what a waste of my fucking time. Like what is happening? Like, and so I literally just had to turn it off. I also turned on the unlimited money cheat, which I do a lot with these like Japanese only games, because I feel like it just kind of like makes the game playable. In that, like, I don't have to, I'm like trying to guess what these like ingredients are and stuff, and like what I need, and it's more of a time saver thing than anything else. Because I never felt like I needed to cheat with like Ellie or even like Anise or Marie. But Lily and this one, I was like, I need this cheat because like it is just so slow to get going in these games. And it was just like, it was that, right? It was like battle, 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 battle. At some point, I was like, okay, I just need to turn this off. Like, this is insane. But outside of that, so even if you're like playing this and you speak Japanese, I would be like, turn the random battles off between towns. Like, because you have to travel between these towns so much. It's like, oh, I need this. And that's another part of the issue, is that you take a quest in one town. I had quests that would be like, here's a quest, deliver like carrots, which you can just buy at the fucking store, to like another town over here. And then with the OCR I'm using, at least, it was like very hard to figure out exactly how much time I had to do that. And I would like, okay, that's fine, I'll take that quest. And by the time I got to that town, I don't know if it's because the battles added time or whatever, it would already be expired, and I would just lose the quest. And I'd be like, what was the point of that? Like, it's like, you gave me a quest that's impossible. right? But I didn't know that because I wasn't able to like translate exactly how long anything was going to take to do. And then it's like you have to do these quests, and there's other quests just to like kill random monsters out and about. No, they're not random. They're like little boss encounters. But only one of them was like hard. There was one boss it was like this horse with one eye. I was like Cyclops horse. I was never able to beat. But nothing else was that difficult. By the time I started like getting those quests in earnest. But you have to do quests to get your popularity up in certain towns, and that will like unlock story sections or rumors in those towns that will unlock like other towns or other dungeons or things like that. So it's a lot of like moving around trying to do quests and trying to harvest to get items to then like create more stuff. And it's just like a circular part of that. And so it's still very much like a management sim, but I feel like I made the management sim so much more tedious that I would say out of all these games that I played, I'm thinking now, this might have been the worst one, but not bad. Like I enjoyed playing it. I feel like if it was like if someone made like a good fan translation of this, or if there was like a good translation of what this was, I think I'd be more motivated because I'd have other things to do. Because it's one of those things like I just kept playing it. Like I played it for like 9 hours at least, I think. 8 or 9 hours. And the only reason I stopped playing it, because I did not beat this game. At some point I was just like, this is Shining Hearts. I cannot figure out what I'm supposed to do. This is like really dragging. And I'm getting to a point where it's like, I'm going to hate this game if I don't stop playing it. But there was a lot in my mind of being like, should I just stop playing this game for like a couple days? Right. So I was thinking that, but I was still like enjoying myself enough where I was like, I kept playing. But at some point I got like a bug or like crashed out in a game after I'd played for like an hour and a half without saving, which is my bad because you should always constantly save RPGs, right? But it's just I'm not thinking about it because it's like I'm like in the groove. It's like, okay, going to this town, getting this item, seeing what quests they have. Okay, that quest, I think this quest gives me like 2 weeks and I can get to this other town and turn it in, or I can get the item and come back that I need because you can't access your fucking storage, which is like the most egregious thing. Like your main storage you can only access at the Atelier in the town. So if I'm like a town, so I set it up at Meesburg because that was kind of like there was one town that was like 2 stops away, but everyone else was you could get like they were connected. And so then it's like, okay, I can go back to my stuff and come back and be able to turn that quest in like the time limit. But then like, so I'm grooving, moving. I'm like unlocking floors of this dungeon and trying to I'm like getting story beats, which tells me that like, okay, I'm progressing something in this town to like get to the next thing that I need to get, or progressing with certain characters to help unlock these dungeons. And then the game like crashed out and I lost all that progression and I was like, it's good enough. So, that's it. Now, how does the story go? Okay, so the story I understood, because the story just like explains itself from the very get-go. And then after it crashed out, I just like glanced. It was like, there's 2 endings. Okay, good. Got it. So I know what's going on, right? And again, these stories are very simplistic. It's like, here's your total mission. If you accomplish the mission, you hear like the options for like multiple endings. And this one is very simple in that, again, I'm reading this on like Wikipedia, in like a Japanese, or not even Wikipedia, like some site in Japanese that I translated. So it seemed like to me, and so take it with a grain of salt because I'm not using information that like I'm 100% sure on. But so the story goes, you're in like the year, I don't remember, 968, whatever, and you're just doing your alchemist thing out there. You got a pet parrot, which is awesome. It never really comes up. Like when you go gathering, he'll like be out there with you, but he doesn't do anything or make commentary after like the opening introduction. And then you're trying to create the Dragon Hourglass, I think is what it's called. And then you do, and then like the whole world like shakes. And then you're like, holy shit, what's going on? And the parrot's like, what's wrong with the door? And you like turn around and like your exit out of like your atelier, like your home, is all blocked off. And so you use some like craft, which is like the base level bomb in the game, and blow the shit out of it. And then you're like, holy cow, where's the village? Right? And you're freaking out. And then some dude just like rolls up. What was his name? It was like Vicey or Veto or Vincent or something. Anyway, this dude rolls up and he's like, hey, holy shit, what are you doing here? And you're like, oh, I'm from this like village. And he's like, that village there's no village like that. That doesn't exist. And you're like, no, it's right there. And he's like, look, and there's nothing there. And you're like, oh shit. And he's like, let me help you out. I'm like a traveling, he's like a usury guy. Like he's like a loan shark. That's what they call it in English. He like lends money to people and then like rips them off. That's his whole thing, from what I could gather, right? And like the limited understanding of his character. And so he takes you to the City of Life. I think that's what it's called, because it's called like Vesti, or it's called like Vito, I think. The City of Vito, which Vito is life, blood, anyway. And he's like, oh, you can live here, and there's an apartment upstairs of this inn, and you can stay here. And then you're like, oh, that's awesome, it's free. And he's like, no, it's 10,000 silver plates or gold or whatever they use. It's like silver plates, I think is what they use in all these games. And she's like, holy shit, silver plates? The fuck are you talking about? I don't have that kind of money. I have nothing. And he's like, that's okay. I'll lend it. I'll get it for you. You can just pay me back over time. And I never paid it back, even when I cheated and had unlimited funds. It just never came up. So I don't know if I cheated and like broke the game. And the cheating is probably why the game crashed, to be completely honest. But because otherwise the game seemed pretty stable. And it's like, oh, okay. And then he'll join you for free, it seems like. He'll just kind of go on your adventures with you. You have a companion. And then, so the goal is to recreate I feel like I'm missing something. He lends you the money, something. No, maybe not. Okay. Anyway, so then your goal is to recreate the dragon hourglass. Oh, okay. So then you find out that, it's like you're from the year 968. I don't remember what it is, but it's like that. And then he's like, oh, it's like 768. And you're like, holy shit, I traveled back in time 200 years. Oh, fuck. And so then the goal is you have unlimited time to find the items and recreate the dragon hourglass. And you got to do this by step-by-step process. And find, you're like in the past, so you got to like kind of figure it out. And then you can travel back to your time. And then, you meet like colorful characters. They all like these stories, like my parents, or like I'm a goofball, or like I'm on a magic quest and I got to find this thing, or like I'm a fucking ghost, which is dope. Not gonna lie. And everyone's great that I can understand, right? Like, at some point I started meeting like more characters. Like there was at least 8 character. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there's at least 8 characters that will join you that I was able to find. And I kind of followed Helmina's like story a little bit, and Vincent's story, or whatever his fucking name is. And then I followed like the goofy soldier guy's story a bit, and then the warrior, and then there was like the thief girl. Everyone's story I followed a little bit, but I didn't really get that into it. And part of it was just like, I'd get to like section 2 of their story and I'd be like, I feel like I totally misunderstood section 1, so I give up. I guess I have no fucking clue what they're talking about. But they all seem cute. They have little cutscenes and stuff. You meet some other guys. There's like a festival in Meeksburg every year that you can go and like fight in an arena and stuff. But eventually you can create the hourglass, and then the 2 endings are you make a decision based on, again, this website I found that I translated with like Google Translate. That you could either go back in time back home to your place, or you can stay here and then stay with all your new friends and whatnot. And I think I would have chosen to stay, but I don't know. I think that's what I would have done if I'd gotten that far and the game hadn't crashed and whatnot. But like I said, generally, like if you are a Japanese speaking individual, or you got more patience than me, then I would say if you like these kind of like management sim / RPG games, it was pretty good. Again, the biggest qualm I had was just like the battles going between towns was like unbearable. So if you're gonna play, the PlayStation 2 probably has some cheats too, because at this point you're playing this fucking game on like either an original PlayStation 2, which sure, or you're playing on like PSCX2 emulator or a PAPSSPP emulator, which again the emulator worked fine. I mean, you can find cheats. There was like a website, it was like Scribd, had cheats for this one and the follow-up game, which I'm gonna have a video on in 2 weeks, called Viotore, which I think takes place like 20 years in the future, I read somewhere, from this game, after this game ends. And that game has a time limit, and it's more of like, it seems more like the Salzburg games where it's like you have a time limit, so the game's just going to fucking end. So I can get through that, even if I don't get the best ending. Because again, it's in Japanese, it's on the PSP, and yada, yada, yada. So I think I'll have an easier time with that, because this game is like very open-ended, and I feel like when you're trying to have an open-ended situation with like an OCR in some of these games that are very text-heavy, it's like, have no idea what's going on. Like, this is rough. Which is like my issue with Shining Hearts, which I never did a video on, but when I was doing my Shining series marathon a couple of years ago, I did play it for a bit, but I literally couldn't get past like the opening tutorial, because it was like, I thought it was like, bring me this type of bread, and I brought it, and it was like nothing happened, and I was like, I clearly misunderstand what I'm supposed to do with this. So anyway, that's Atelier Judie, a fun game that I could not really get into because of the language barrier. But yeah, there you go. Go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.